This because certain forces from outside came and whatever the boundaries of tribal identities were just wiped out. It did not happen with war between two tribes. Somebody else came and wiped out and it all got mixed up. Maybe even a Zulu doesn't look like a Zulu anymore.
Once you have defined what that truth is, once you're clear on what the world is to you, where do you find the courage to stand in the silence of your own presence? Because you're the only one that's there, really. The minute you step outside of society, it's a very lonely place.
Should I answer the question or should I clear up the question?
Both.
So let me start with the question before I answer. You talked about the European idea of I think so I am. A simple question, is it because you are you can think or because you can think you are? Which is true? You know the answer.
No.
What do you mean? Because… No, because only because you can exist, you can think, right? Not because you think you can exist. So I'm saying if you are so lost in your own psychological realities that you fancifully start believing that your psychological reality is real, your psychological reality is just your drama, there's nothing concerned with reality there, okay? It is your psychological drama and you start thinking, right now human suffering is all invested in this, that people think their psychological creations are bigger than the Creator's creation. That is the problem, essentially, that's all they're suffering. That's the only thing human beings are suffering. Their psychological creations are larger and more significant than the cosmos. That's all their problem is. One knock on their head, their psychological reality will evaporate, all right? I'm saying this is not truth, this is just your drama. You've gotten so engrossed and invested in your own drama, you just forgotten that there is a reality called existence. Now about what you said about the African people, you are, so I am. Well, this is a very social reality, this is a way of acknowledging another human being, how we as human beings are not designed in such a way that our individuality is absolute. We have to interact, we have to be together. This is a more peacemaking in the society, this is a more, I would say, social wisdom. Nothing to do with truth per se, it's a social wisdom. You recognize, acknowledge that everybody around you is important, without them you really are nothing. And it is also a way of engaging and involving yourself with other lives, because this is not only to human beings. You may say this to a lion or a giraffe or a tree, saying, because you are, I am. It's a wonderful way of recognizing the contribution of every other life to our lives, but that's a social reality. So having said that about African man trying to create his own image of himself. But see, Africa is a word, it is a geographical piece called a continent today. But in reality, as historical reality, if you look at it, Africa must have been 10,000 tribes or more, I don't know the number, but I'm just saying. Because I discovered in America, there still are 500 nations within United States of America, Native American nations. So in Africa, it must be at least 10,000, I'm just imagining. I do not know the exact number, it could be anywhere, 5,000, 10,000 tribes. So they all lived in their own realities, their own practices, probably their own languages, their own rituals, their own identity essentially. So today, This because certain forces from outside came and whatever the boundaries of tribal identities were just wiped out. It did not happen with war between two tribes. Somebody else came and wiped out and it all got mixed up. Maybe even a Zulu doesn't look like a Zulu anymore, or in the Masai Mara, the tall people, a lot of them are short and fat these days. All this happening. No, that is because I'm saying genetic mixture has happened, which was not happening earlier. Social mixture has happened and all kinds of mixtures and porosity has come. What was guarded as a very sacred identity has gotten mixed up over a period of time. In the last 200 years, so much has happened. Some of it is absolutely painful and disastrous. But this is the way, unfortunately, we have shaped the world, okay? Let's come to that reality. This is the way it's happened. We cannot change yesterday, all right? It is just that today, what we do will determine our future. That we must understand. Yesterday we cannot change. It might have been beautiful, it might have been ugly, it doesn't matter, but we cannot change that. We can only experience today and see and strive how to create a tomorrow. In this effort, if you are a Zulu, it's wonderful. As a culture, you keep that as sacred, you keep that going because it's important, otherwise all of us will become one kind of people. We will die of boredom, okay? It's so wonderful that cultures evolve like this. If you come to India, there are over 1,300 languages, even today people speaking these kind of languages. So, all this cultural color, this kaleidoscope of humanity is wonderful. At the same time, we have moved towards a world today where there is technology, there is kind of interconnectivity that you could have never imagined possible even 50 years ago, which you cannot deny, which you cannot grow without using and becoming a part of it. So this need not become a struggle. If you are… I was invited to speak with the Zulu king and to address the Zulu population, but unfortunately, things turned out the way they did with this pandemic. So, see, it's wonderful to keep that memory because a human being's life is rich only because of a vivid sense of memory. If we did not have that memory, our lives would not be rich. So I'm saying keep the culture, I don't think you can keep… let's say if are you a Zulu?
I'm Swati.
Okay.
Very closely related to Zulu.
Okay. So let us say whatever the proud moments of your culture is in your memory, it remains an inspiration. But don't try to practice all of it today because those things were practiced at a certain time, in a certain atmosphere where it was relevant. They were doing what was relevant. If you do the same things now, you will be doing something that's irrelevant. So all those practices of life, we must make it into practices of ceremony. Ceremonially, you must keep them alive. You should not try to keep them alive in your life, in your daily practice. I'm not saying every bit of it, many parts of it. Many large parts of it may not be relevant today. Such things, we must make them into ceremonial practices. Let's say what they were doing every day, once a year we come together and do that just to remind us, ourselves, what roots we come from. This is important to keep the pride and integrity of people to move forward. Otherwise, if somebody looks back and sees there is nothing behind them, there is a vacancy in our memory, then very few people… that's actually a great liberation if there is absolutely past is wiped out. But that is not the way most human beings are made. They will suffer, they will not know how to use it as a springboard. So if you convert what was day-to-day practices of your tribe into a ceremonial practice in your life, it will be like a springboard for you to walk strong into tomorrow.
Got you. So if I'm hearing you, then what you're saying is that even the idea of identity itself is not fixed, that identity is a contemporary construct.
No, it is not… always identities have been there. But what was a tribal identity, today you're trying to make it into a national identity, or now Africa means a continental identity, or we are pushing towards a global identity. Global identity does not mean all of us should paint ourselves white or black. We are different colors, we are different this thing, it's fine. It's essentially that we make these things the color of our life, not the core of our life. This is the important thing. The core of our life is we are human. The core of our life is we are life on this planet, which is the most important thing. The color of our life may be black, white, I am brown, okay?